This story is a campsite story from the Irish traveller community. And they have lots of very old stories about the wildlife and countryside of Ireland. So this tale is about how hedgehog got its coat of spines. So a very, very long time ago, an extremely long time ago, hedgehog didn't look like it looks now. In fact, hedgehog was very tall with long, thin legs and beautifully smooth and soft black fur. Very different to now. And hedgehog could move through the woodlands totally silently and unseen, being black and smooth and so quiet. And also because hedgehog never said a word, just listened. In that way, hedgehog listened and learnt from the birds and knew where the birds found food and where they stored it when it was rare or scarce. But hedgehog also listened to the other animals, the squirrels, the mice, the rabbits, the deer, never saying a word, but listening and learning. So hedgehog knew more about the woodland food and where to find it than any other creature. And this meant that hedgehog, even in the cold and in the winter, never went hungry. Now it turned out that hedgehog, though it didn't say anything, was very curious about things all the time. You know, hanging out with the birds, hanging out, hello Wakanda, that's my cat Wakanda, hanging out with the cats, whoever was around, to learn what they could. So one time, the hedgehog was quietly moving around and noticed a family had moved in near the river and was setting up camp, staying the night. So hedgehog moved closely to watch what the people were doing. And hedgehog noticed that something wasn't right. The people looked very thin, quite sick looking. They moved very slowly. Even the children weren't running or laughing or playing. They were just sitting huddled up around what looked like was going to be a very small fire, and they had nothing to eat. They were boiling a bit of water and putting in the basic roughest looking bits of roots and leaves, trying to make what looked like going to be a very poor soup. Hedgehog realized they had nothing to eat and maybe hadn't eaten for some time. Hedgehog felt sorry for them because Hedgehog knew where there was lots of food, even now when it was getting towards winter. So Hedgehog went off quickly and gathered some berries, some nuts, some roots and some herbs, as much as it could possibly carry in its mouth, and brought it back to the camp and quietly hid the bundle of food just behind the tent, away from where the family were having a fire, and went back again and watched from the bushes. Now, after a while, the father of the group moved round the tent to fetch something and came across this bundle of food and very excitedly brought it to the fire, and it was added to the pot and made a very nicely smelling and tasty soup. The people couldn't understand where it had come from and how lucky they were, but they were just very grateful, for after a long time their stomachs were full. Because you see, this was a time in Ireland where the land was sick and the people couldn't grow food. Whatever they grew just rotted in the soil and there was nothing to eat. So the people were on the move, trying to find somewhere where there was food, and they had been hungry for many days. So they slept well that night. But Hedgehog wasn't done yet, and Hedgehog went and collected more food, more berries and nuts from its stores, or from where it knew they were still growing at this time of year, and brought another package of food and left it outside the tent for the morning. There was great excitement in the morning when the children discovered the gift of a package of food, and they ate well again. They packed up their few things and they carried on their journey as they were looking for a better place to live. But on their way, everyone they met, they told of this place near the river in the woods where they had received food, and news spread. And so Hedgehog's little woodland started to become quite busy, because there were lots of other families moving, and they were equally hungry and sick looking. So Hedgehog became very busy trying its best to look after the people, running backwards and forwards quietly on its long slim legs through the bushes and trees, collecting different berries and roots and nuts, and bringing it secretly to the people. Soon the hedgehog was realizing it couldn't do all this without some new plan. It couldn't carry enough. So quickly it worked out that if it took some sharp sticks and rested it across its back and across its, all the way along its back and across its shoulders, it could hang more food on it, and it could carry more food. So it added lots and lots of sticks all over itself and hung and pushed food in and kept going backwards and forwards day after day, week after week, leaving gifts of food for the sick people. And the people were very happy and very grateful. As time passed by, the sickness in the land passed and people could grow food again. But they never forgot this gift that was given to them by the little secretive creature, who now had changed very dramatically. It had changed from a tall, slim, black, smooth creature with long legs. It had been running backwards and forwards so much and carried so many things that its legs had shrunken and shrunken and shrunken down to tiny little legs. And its clever carrying idea of sticks all over its back had become stuck to it and had formed a spiky coat, so that we know the hedgehog of today, covered in spikes and a tiny little legs, and it still says nothing, silent. But the people that know of the great service of the hedgehog in the past, when the people needed it most, are always grateful and are very sure to make sure that everybody knows, the children in particular, that no harm is to come to the hedgehog. So I hope you enjoyed that story of how hedgehog got its coat of spikes.